learning new details tonight about the funeral arrangements for Pope Francis.
Yeah, we're continuing to understand that the Vatican announced just this morning that the funeral mass for the 88-year-old pontiff is going to happen Saturday in St. Peter's Square.
All right, here's the very latest from Rome.
Preparations are underway at St. Mary Major Basilica, 2 miles east of the Vatican, where Pope Francis will be laid to rest. He chose to be buried at the Basilica, a favorite of his, instead of at the Vatican like most popes.
It speaks about his humility. It speaks about his love of peace.
Tomorrow, Pope Francis's body will be moved in a procession from the private chapel of his Santa Marta residence to St. Peter's Basilica, where he will lie in state until Saturday's funeral and burial. Francis, who had been in poor health, died Monday, just the day after making a surprise appearance at Easter Sunday services. The next few days will be all about paying tribute to the man known as the People's Pope and all he accomplished during his 12-year papacy. Then the focus shifts to picking a new pope. Cardinals from around the world, many of whom will already be at the Vatican for Francis's funeral, will take part in the secretive election process known as the conclave. The voting is held in the Sistine Chapel. Only those cardinals under the age of 80 are eligible to participate.
A majority of the cardinals who will be voting are actually Francis appointees, but this doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to end up with someone just like Francis. There's a lot of politicking behind the scenes.
A two-thirds majority is needed to elect the next pope. Tony Aiello, CBS News, Rome.
And President Trump said on social media that he and the First Lady will attend Pope Francis' funeral. Andrea.
Catholics and really the faithful across the entire world were so sad yesterday to learn of the passing of Pope Francis, and we're here to talk about what's next for the Catholic Church and also about Pope Francis's legacy. I'm so thankful to have Father Linsky from St. Peter's downtown with us today. Thank you, Father Linsky, for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I guess first let's talk about Pope Francis's legacy and what an amazing thing it is, and what was your reaction that he lived through Easter Sunday?
I think that was a tremendous gift to him and to the church. For him, he had one more celebration of the resurrection of Christ. And as the commentator said on the morning of his passing, that he has gone to the Father's house, but he went there buoyed by his faith in the resurrection, and having gone to the great Basilica to see the people of over 50,000 and to be able to just be strengthened by their affirmation of his presence and his ministry.
It was beautiful to see him one last time. I'm sorry, it makes me a little emotional.
Sure.
I am a Catholic faithful. One of the things I loved as a Catholic, and Pope Francis made me very proud, was his love for everybody.
Yes.
And his humility.
I think the first act that struck me so much after his election was that he insisted on personally going to the Domus, to the house where he was staying as a cardinal before he went into conclave. He had left his things there because they can only take a very little bit in, and he insisted on personally going to the front desk, gathering his things, and paying himself instead of sending an emissary to handle that for him. And I thought that was an incredible touch of humility and class in one sense. Yes, he lived in at the Dome, I think St. Marta, in the Vatican proper, because he wanted to be able to have meals and have some interaction with other clergy that lived in that particular location rather than in the papal apartments. It was the same thing that he did when he was the Archbishop of Buenos Aires. He had a small apartment, he lived, he did his own meals, he took the bus everywhere. So a different approach than what we typically see in pontiffs.
So for anybody who's watching and doesn't know what comes next, explain, just give us the very short version of what the process will be as we choose a new pope.
Well, as you know, the rules that promulgated under the Holy Father were that the funeral has to happen between 4 and 6 days. We now know it will be Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning in Rome. But then when they enter the conclave, that discussion in essence is more muted. Now, we don't know because we're outside watching, but it is a very secretive process. My understanding is that they can have up to 4 votes a day, and they need 2/3 approximately to elect a pontiff, and they will do this for a number of days. And I have a sense, what do I know? I'm a simple parish priest in South Carolina. But I think this might be a little longer conclave.
You said you wouldn't make a prediction, and
Sure.
you didn't want to say a favorite, but what do you hope that this next pope brings to our faith?
We always hope that the intense faith of the pontiff is something he holds dear, and yet something he can radiate and express to the universal church and to people throughout the world, because we know it's not just Catholics who look to the Pope, but the world looks to the Pope.
Sure.
Now, Pope Francis had the touch and address the issue of migrants and people on the margins with a sensitivity I don't know that we've ever quite seen before. I think what we're going to see perhaps in the next pontiff is a bit of a mixture.
Well, we are so excited to see what happens. We hope you come back and talk
Thank
with us
you.
as the process goes. Thank you so much, Father Linsky. And if you would like to catch one of his masses, you can do that at the Basilica of St. Peter's in downtown Columbia. Thanks for being with us today.
God bless you. Thank you for having me.